What's up, guys? Welcome to another limited knowledge stream. I'm your host, Shark, aka. What's up, guys? So, this is the brand new game called Lost Centuria. This is a $150,000 event with all big streamers and content creators. So yeah, guys, so definitely this game is gonna be
in this game, he's trying to get more mana so that way he can cast more spells and get himself into the lead.
In my opinion, Void Boy, the only thing he has going for him right now is if you can put some dots on the back line. Oh, and I just spoke too soon because dots cannot be applied as immunity was presented on God's side.
That's right. So now we've moved on to another one of our influencers tonight.
That's Emily.
That's Emily Gould right there. We had watched, you know what is really interesting about this? Motion and I were just talking how we actually watched Emily Gould's VOD of her previous gameplay when she streamed it, and her team is looking entirely different. It looks like she's moved some monsters from the front to the back. There's still a couple mainstays here. We saw the Wusa the first time. We saw Bernard here too, but none of them were placed in the same spots.
Alright, so what do you guys feel about this game so far?
Of course, and Vertical goes in for that kill, and typically it's going to get passed over, but it looks like it got dispelled or resisted for some reason, probably because there's a lot of water monsters over there, and Vertical is a fire monster. And Gob going in. Emily is just slowly rotting away. And why? We see a Lucian.
Yeah,
Lucian's multi-hitting.
This is what I was interested in seeing. We've got Lucian bringing AoE cleave. Is this the way that you're trying to maximize your number of wins? Remember, guys, we're in round one. Every win in your best run is going to credit you $30 at the end of this thing.
Right. And we need Nikki to do something here. We need Nikki to pop some damage. Oh, that was huge AoE damage from Ganny. If Nikki can do something and get some dots off, oh no, Camilla goes in, gets that huge damage AoE. It does transfer over to her own team, but it doesn't matter.
Oh, dude, Emily, look at her. She knows that it's over. Lapis against the world. Lapis is a pretty fragile unit that deals damage and then brings a shield back onto herself and her team based on the damage dealt. But she can't carry this alone.
Emily,
excellent win from Gob.
It's okay, Emily. You will have 7 more hours to get as many runs as possible.
6 hours and 50 minutes.
Jesus, 7 more hours.
Normally,
can you believe that? 7 hours in an event, but you are playing for $150,000.
Same monsters.
Jesus, I wish I did content creations way back then. I would have been able to play in this event. This event is so cool, brand new game. But honestly, this game takes a lot of strategy, and it's really straightforward. Like once you learn how to counter and what's the meta and everything, this game is really easy to play. So
you can counter it. Wish of Immortality then. And now you're protected from the sleep. However, there are a couple situations where you actually might want to withhold that counter instead.
Always. That's what I love about Lost Centuria. Everyone thinks, or, you know, if you haven't played the game yet, a counter is a counter. But no, you might want to counter to get momentum, yes, and just periodically counter. But you might also want to save a counter for that huge AoE sleep from Hawthorne.
Right, counter is a huge disruption tool, and sometimes it can be better used, or actually, even better withhold it. So we saw a situation today where there was a debuff that was going to be AoE applied on the team. Popped a Lucia a little too soon, that habit kicked in, and you reacted with a Lucia, accidentally cleansed the monster before the debuff got applied, so you could have ended up cleansing a little bit more. So there are situations where maybe it's best to just wait.
Basically 3 seconds too fast. You should have just waited and used that a little bit prior, right?
Yeah, I want to take a second real quick to take a look. Again, call out the chat. Are there any questions that you all have? We had one real quick by Neo Scooch. How good of advice do you need to run this game?
Oh, what kind of system? Well, actually, so I'm running on a device that is like quite old. I'm currently running in an iPhone 6s, so it's like, and I'm still running it. So
there you go.
And another cool fact that I wanted to point out: if you do have a lower end device or whatever device you're using, in the settings of Lost Centuria, you have multiple options. You can literally change your FPS to 30. Or if you got the new $1,400 HD Android phone, you can change it to 120 FPS.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Some people on computer don't even play with 120 FPS.
There you go. Thank you very much for asking that question. Hello to Gigi and my boy Stoic also in the chat, joining us for our first
look at
at Lost Centuria. And those matches went fast and furious. And I think there was a couple things that I wanted to call out that I think happened very quickly. The cards show up on the bottom right-hand corner. What determines the order of the cards being available to play? If you have 8 units, how do you know which ones you can use and how many can you use at a time?
That's a really good question. Well, yeah, please take it
away.
away.
So the cards are going to be random in your hand, right? So let's just say, for example, you used your first monster in your hand, the card. The card's going to go away, be back into your deck per se, and a new card's going to come up. Now, there's a chance that that card might come back instantly, or you might have to wait a couple turns before it comes.
All right. Hey, well, let's take a look after that first round.
So I'm streaming just to try to feel better.
Oh, look at that. So what we just came into right now is seeing one of my favorite units launching their skill, and that's Poseidon. Broseidon, as he's being called.
Broseidon. From Nyan.
One could stand a reason if Bernard puts up acceleration, there is an equal and opposite out there, and that's Poseidon putting on deceleration 2, slowing down that mana generation on the ally team. Rosfeld taking a great deal of damage.
Definitely, and the one thing that I noticed right away was Rosfeld is the tank. Is he really a tank? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Right? And then we got Poseidon as a tank too. Poseidon's about to go down, even though that's the wrong attribute to hit. He's going down. There we go. And Jean. Jean is one of my favorite units right now to put in the front line because she's very versatile. She does multiple things. She heals and stuns. So I want to see what Jean can bring to the table right now.
Yeah, so when we're looking at this, I'm really into our allies' front line right now.
See, this is where it becomes super good because you have to counter.
Strategy pieces in the front line that have since passed away since we started seeing this. So Poseidon has already taken enough hits that he's no longer in the game.
Correct.
That Pierrette, by the way, has an amazing defense break on top of huge damage. That is like one of my favorite damage facilitating skills. It sets up its own nuke.
I like it. And now Wish Mortality is going to prevent some damage and let this game linger on a little bit. My only issue with Zargon's team right now is that he only has 1 DPS left to dish out the damage, realistically. So I don't know if it's going to be a catch-up game or... Okay, so he's going to get this kill. He's going to get... Look how much HP the Warbear got from landing that kill.
Yeah, got 1.2k refunded because he killed Jean. Now, we're trying to just build up mana. Megan's acceleration has taken us to a point where now we're generating very quickly.
And he gets a counter with the Wusa. All right? This is perfect.
This is exactly the situation that we just outlined before going into this match. Hathor has the setup. She's trying to sleep it, and then Wish of Immortality comes and just throws a wrench in the whole system.
Exactly. So that right there is proof that you might not want to counter right away, and you might want to save it for the right time.
Okay, here we go. Something we haven't touched on yet. Those 2 cards on either end of the mana cost bar are summoner spells, and they're going to be important here because we're about to see the left one become very important. That is Chain of Despair. What it does is it does damage and then locks down a single unit, but if you kill that
Look how much damage Chain of Despair does. It's almost like a nuke stun. Now, Chain of Despair is applied. Oh, Lucia
Big cleanse. Big cleanse. If you are in a situation where you kill the unit with stun on, that stun will then be transferred to another unit. It's a chain reaction.
And right before Bernard dies, look at that. Wish of Immortality again. Saves Bernard, stalls a couple more seconds. That might be the play to win the game right there.
What a great comp we're seeing. I love the balance of just Wusa's shield and immunity, the acceleration of Megan, so he's always got a little bit of extra mana in the pool. Look, he's trying to spam and tap on that Bernard ASAP because he's trying to keep his mana pool filled so he can fuel the tank cards, like Rakan's AoE attack.
And Zargon, Hathor, such a good unit, but again, not very useful when immunity is up all the time. I didn't see 1 AoE sleep.
Look at how expressive. He's like actually he looks a little anxious when this is really in his favor.
And Shield Break landed on Wusa. There are a bunch of win units on Zargon's side, so Wusa should be going down here in any second.
Oh no, Zargon just did a big boost from Bernard. Wish of Immortality couldn't have come at a better time because now they're getting a little bit low on health here. Technically speaking, Rakan should have the advantage against all these win units.
The tailwind acceleration, that's
when that
really
win Pierrette can apply defense break and nuke, you don't know.
Defense break, just like Summoner's War, is extremely important. Oh my God.
Amazing response. Lucia, set up to cleanse, AoE stun in response.
I love it. And I think at this point, being Rakan is left, and there are 4 units that are practically win on the other side. Rakan AoE hits, and when he goes, we'll see it soon here. Boom, boom.
Oh, dude.
Almost everything right now.
That is huge. That is a huge win. Now, it should be stood to mention that summoner spells can only be used once per game. That is why they are so impactful. You're allowed to bring 3 into a match. Once you've used them once, you're done. You can't use those spells anymore until the next game.
So what does that mean, Evan? Pick and choose wisely.
Yeah, bring them wisely. We saw Chain of Despair used. We saw an AoE stun, and he's still got a cleanse in the back pocket.
All right, so right now we got Bernard versus the world right
Final attack. That was a brilliant game. Amazing setup.
Good. That was well
really
played.
Good placement
that was
of
actually
units.
well played.
And that is how we're going to see the people accumulating those wins that will ultimately push them out after each round.
I liked it. It was very fun watching that one.
Yeah, Kiyun going huge there. The TFT, man, showing up massively, as expected. The streamer like this, and love his chat hopping in there. If this game's too lit, hashtag ad all the way through.
Look at him. Look at his expressions on his face. He knows money's on the line. He is into it.
And Kiyun, especially if you're familiar with games of that genre, then La Centuria might even come as second nature to you, to be honest. So one thing that's interesting about Remix doesn't actually have any summoner spells in their queue, so we're going to see how impactful that is. While they do have good placement, they got their big tanky units like Jean and the Golem in the front, then that means that they've got the placement down, but they might be lacking a little power.
And on both sides, what we see is a speed boost from Megan on both sides, right? Let's see.
That is one of my favorite units in the game. If I'm being completely honest with you, my favorite decks have Bernard and Megan in them.
All right, so he did counter, but it's fine. It wasn't a counter to do damage. Lucia saved Jean real quick here.
Amazing single target stun, by the way.
There we go. And by the way, when Jean attacks and stuns the unit ahead of her, she also heals the lowest ally.
Good counter.
Oh, and look at this. So we're getting a setup. He's getting the shields online, protecting himself from the onslaught that's to come.
Really, really good.
Setting up Megan. This is going to accelerate his mana up, and then what he's going to try to do next is Frostfell Brand into recon damage.
There we go. And again, we didn't talk about this yet, but if you just saw, Soha stole all the buffs from one unit and applied it to her whole team.
Wow.
That was an interesting choice. Kiyun might have been a little bit early on that Frostfell play just because the whole enemy team has immunity up, so that means no branding is going to be applied, and recon is not going to be as impactful later.
All right, and you did see Remix counter and try to stun before, but it did not land on
nice.
Big crits coming out here. Little bits of damage being accumulated in the front line, but that is what they're for. These are your tanks. You want them to die first. Keep your damage dealers, your hinge units in the back.
Correct. And one thing I did also notice, Remix, he's really bagging on the Beretta. See, here goes Beretta putting on dots, right? And I'm going to assume that he's going to try to follow up with Thrain, if he can pull the card. See, Thrain is not next. He needs to start using cards ASAP so he can get Thrain in his hand and follow up to get guaranteed stuns from those dots.
Endurance 3, that's very big. Endurance is going to reduce the amount of incoming damage that's coming towards you. Think of it as a reverse of branding in this situation. Now, you've got your cards in your bottom right. The one that says next on it is the one that's next on the top of your deck. So he's trying to get through that to try to find something to help him here. He's got 2 summoner spells.
And a counter to save Jean, possibly. Yep, so Beretta was not able to apply any dots. He's playing extremely well. That's all I really have to say.
Very great timing, knowing when to hold your spells, and also great unit placement. Here comes Rakan with some big damage. I appreciate what he's been trying to do. He's been trying to dig for that crossbow to land the brand to increase the amount of damage, but it's just not coming up, so he's like, I just need to get this card out of my hand. Let's do it.
Another way to go about that is doing an AoE shield break prior to Rakan attacking, because Rakan attacks AoE. If you can get, I believe it's Prelia that does an AoE shield break as well. They pair very well together.
Okay, damage conversion is coming out from Remix's side. Now that's pretty big because that means if you deal damage to them, they'll instead heal for the amount that was dealt to them. So this is a time where you want to hold back, keep your mana.
Now, on the opposite side of that, if you can counter with that damage conversion, when it's a time where they're going to release a lot of damage, you can have a unit at 1% and heal all the way to 100.
I would have liked to see it here. When the Hellhound was about to attack, you counter with the damage conversion instead. Because it was used a little bit too early, that meant that all Kiyun had to do was just hold back, don't play anything, don't damage them, and you won't damage yourself.
I'm pretty sure these players will eventually realize that and maybe catch on later because they're going to have a lot of games to play.
Again, guys, it's been 1 week with the game so far as a test build. This is not necessarily representative of what the final product will be, especially in terms of unit balancing and all this, but the main keys here are still present.
That's right, and Kiyun, one of the best TFT players in North America and all of the world here, and you can see his theory crafting in the short amount of time that he's had the game in his hands. Now on his 3rd win in a row.
Wow.
So Kiyun might be going for that 10-win run right off the bat here, and we might be looking at one of the favorites to win the whole thing overall. I know it's very early on to say it, but he's doing fantastically. He'll lock in his 3rd win.
I believe
now we're flipping on over to Voyboy's stream here. As Voyboy, again, has been doing a lot of his mental health work with FlyQuest, has been bouncing around, and is one of the greatest minds of games here. And he's up against Emily! It's Emily!
So now
how this one breaks down.
Yeah, now we get to see what it's like to be on the other side of Emily Gould's team here.
So right now it's somewhat even in my opinion. The only downside that I see Blue will have is against Emily is the immunity, right? We got a Perna